What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be breaking down the Draft Network's 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. It is always changing. We actually have some new guys who are in certain new positions that will be unveiled through tight end, hint, tight end rankings that will be coming soon, as well as a multitude of other positions. So super excited for that. Yes, these are based on my all 22 grades. I do post clips over on Twitter to be able to back up that. So easy way to get there is through that link tree, as well as the sponsor of the show, UnderDog Fantasy, where you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up. Let's get into this though. Let's have a great time. Justin Mello, we've been doing pretty much every single mock draft that we've been reviewing every mock draft, I should say, that he's been putting out. I was planning on being able to do a stock risers and fallers essentially for this next round of the playoffs. I will be doing that. It will be tomorrow, but I actually am going to attend the Surf Pro First Responders Bowl in person as a media member. So I wanted to be able to have something that's a little bit more time condensed because those videos actually take a lot of time to create, and I want to be able to not rush it for you as well as me. So starting off with the number one overall selection, we got the Patriots going Travis Hunter. Love Travis. I think that it's kind of just the pick that you put in there right now. The only logical pick, which again, or the logical trade, I should say, is the Giants because they have that previous relationship from the year before. We saw it in Hard Knocks offseason. You could end up seeing that being a legitimate move up for someone like Cam Ward. But at the same time, I do want to emphasize the price to move up is very, very, very expensive. And for a team like the Patriots, you could try to take a discount, but at the same time, it's just so tough to actually feasibly think of a team looking at quarterbacks that are not remotely in the same tier as the top three picks of last year, and then basically saying we're going to pay an extreme premium in order to get them this year. So that's just my only concern. But regardless of that, Travis Hunter is fantastic, great player. I do see him long-term best role as a free safety, but he's a really damn good corner. He's a really solid wide receiver, and he's going to be a hit. It's just, might not be the instant fit that you guys are looking for, but he will be someone where you look back and you're like, it was not a bust. And that's honestly almost more comforting than kind of taking a swing, is just getting a player who's a damn good contributor. The Titans go Shedeur Sanders. This is exactly what I did the other day, yesterday, and you guys, 2 days ago, I should say, you guys can go check out my explanation about why I think Shedeur Sanders is a really good fit to Colorado, because I do think it's based on Brian Callahan's comfortability. And also, honestly, my CBS mock draft, I explained it a lot better than I did even in my own mock draft. So feel free to check it out if you guys want a little bit of comedy mixed in with actually some good understanding of, what I think is best for the Titans. But continuing on, the Browns go Cam Ward. Not going to disagree with it. Cam Ward's a good player. It's a team that could certainly be looking to invest in the quarterback position. If I were the Cleveland Browns, I don't think I would go after Cam Ward because of the quantity of QBs next year. And, yes, you might not be in the best position for it, but I also think if you do get some bidders to move up for Cam Ward because the Giants are here, like what I did is basically saying, okay, well, if I'm not going to get Cam Ward, I'm going to move down and get the best player available. And so ended up essentially getting a free second round pick and still getting the guy who I wanted outside the quarterback room. But if you do want a quarterback, then Cam Ward is the best choice for the Browns. Then we have the New York Giants going Will Johnson. If you don't get a QB, go best player available. Will Johnson's the best player in the class. Smart move. At number 5, the Jaguars go Mason Graham. I'm not going to be disagreeing with this move if they go that route. With the fact that Will Johnson's off the board, it makes a lot of sense. They tried to invest, and I still think you should have some patience with Mason Graham, but or one I think it's Mason Smith, not Mason Graham. Well, I guess you have two Masons on your squad, one with 2 A's and one with 1. But I think that Mason Smith, Mason Graham could be a really nice 1-2 punch as they both develop into the future. So I'm very intrigued to see how that would end up working out, but I would just pray for Will Johnson. At number 6, you got the Panthers going Abdul Carter, edge rusher out of Penn State. Fantastic pick. If you can't get Mason Graham, pray to the Lord that you can get Abdul Carter. At number 7, we got the Jets going Jalen Walker. I don't really think that edge is going to be the position they invest at number 7. Do I think it's a bad pick? No. Jalen is my number 8 player, and that includes 2 players above him, one of which I actually do think should return to school, but 2, technically 3, that are dropping due to season-ending injuries, but I'm only giving them grades based on the play that they actually had and not trying to conjure up something out of my ass, trying to say, oh, this is how much I should drop them for that injury. But continuing on, we got the Raiders going T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan. Oh, people get pissed when I say T-Mac, apparently. Tet. So Tetairoa is a fantastic receiver. I think all around if you're just like putting a blindfold on and throwing a dart at a board, which creators like myself and pretty much everyone else who makes it an actual list, well, you got to make it for all 32. So we're essentially putting on the blinder and being able to throw a dart without being able to see where we're throwing it at. I think when you're looking at Tetairoa holistically, he is a top 40 player in the class. But I broke my own rules because I don't think any team that is drafting in the top 10 to 15 is going to draft Tetairoa outside of his primary strength, which is being an X receiver, a red zone threat, someone who is going to be someone who could push the field down the field, or push the defense with some good vertical ability, but also being just that reliable red zone target. At 6'5", 215 pounds-ish, I think that he's going to be a really solid target for a team like Vegas that is looking for someone to be more that primary reliable receiver, kind of that YOLO kind of guy. So Tetairoa is one of those few players where I really have actually bucked the system to be able to show exactly what I think he should be based on where he is going to be drafted. So I'm happy I did that in retrospect. I'm not going to do it for many players because, again, the majority of players should be really solid all around, but wide receiver is one of those that does have a lot of flexibility based on the specific role you're going to play. So I do think that it's going to be good for certain guys at the top who are really going to be siloed into one position. Josh Connerly goes at number 9. I think Josh Connerly is fantastic. If he goes in the top 15, I'm not going to bitch and moan. Like, he's a really good player. He can end up kicking into inside, if he ends up failing it as a tackle. But the high-end reps for Josh Connerly are up there with Josh Simmons as the best in the class. So, if this does happen, would I say I might have wanted Josh Simmons more? Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm not going to criticize Josh Connerly for going high. He's a really good player. He deserves love and respect. He doesn't have an updated grade from me, even though I've watched a ton of edge rushers versus him, and he does great versus all of them. So I'm still getting through all the updates, trying to get new guys updating, and then also living a life. A little bit difficult sometimes, but also trying to do the best for you guys as well as for myself. And we're getting there. We're having a good time while doing it as well. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, I can release my top 250 big board because I'm super excited to give you guys that. At number 10, we got Kelvin Banks to the Saints at number 10. I think I already said number 10. Early dementia's setting in, isn't it? But regardless, the Saints going offensive lineman, I think would be a smart idea. You could put Fuaga back to right tackle if you want to. But Banks is a good offensive lineman. I don't really think this aligns with what the Saints would be looking for necessarily. I think Ursary is a higher probability based on them drafting Fuaga. Like, Fuaga and Ursary have similar positive and growth curve sets. So I would say it doesn't really feel like a Kelvin Banksy kind of team. But if they do go that route, it would be intriguing for sure. Kelvin Banks is kind of more of that road grader. He's a good mauler as well, so I'd be excited to see how he performs there in New Orleans. At number 11, the Niners go James Pierce. He's my number 2 player in the class. I really do think he is just ridiculously talented, and it's just fair to say he is a really damn good player. At number 12, we got the Colts going Colston Loveland. I regraded Loveland, and he's a really solid weapon. I do think he is a little bit more limited than what I initially was kind of hoping for. I don't think he took a big step up this year. I don't really think he took a step up at all, if I'm just going to be completely brutally honest. He's a little bit undersized, but he's a really good player. Again, I have him, this is official grade, by the way. He is at number 31 overall on my board. I do have a couple players above him that I do think, A, either will return to school, or B, will be dropping. Because, again, this is a reflection of my current grades, and some of them are not fully updated. That's why I have a star on certain players, because those guys are due for a drop. But regardless, Colston Loveland, good weapon. I don't think the Colts would regret taking Colston, but maybe they would at 12, and they would above Tyler Warren, which you can see what I think of Tyler Warren, FYI. But continuing on, we have Walter Nolan going to the Cowboys. Another player I'm a little bit lower on the consensus. I think Walter Nolan's a very good player, but I do want to emphasize the fact that we're talking about Walter Nolan in the first versus Walter Nolan as a prospect. And I'm not there with Walter Nolan as a first-round player, but I do really like him overall as a prospect. And the Cowboys could use him. I think he'd be a good fit. Then you got Arizona going Michael Williams at 14. He's a good player as well. Tons of untapped potential. I really fell in love with him actually in his All-American game when he ended up performing before he even ever went to Georgia. So I would love to be able to see him grow and develop into the superstar that he should be. Fingers crossed that can happen. I don't know if it will, but I would be intrigued to see Jonathan Gannon continue the Eagles' mindset of drafting Georgia players and bring it to Arizona. Continuing at 15, you got the Dolphins going Malachi Starks. Makes a ton of sense. Even if the Dolphins could afford to re-sign Javon Holland, not necessarily the Javon Holland we kind of know. Hopefully he does get re-signed for something a little bit cheaper and then ends up showing that he is the exact superstar that we all know him to be. Malachi Starks still can pair up with him very well. And at 15, the value is definitely worth it. Shedeur Stewart goes at 16 to the Bengals. I still think Shedeur needs a lot of development. He's a very good player. Ooh, they don't have a scouting report on him. I'm like, I just realized that it didn't change to a hyperlink. But Shedeur Stewart is someone who's a freak athlete at 290. I mean, definitely would feel like a Cincinnati Bengals kind of edge rusher to replace Trey Hendrickson, but the dude needs development, and this is, I hate to say it, it's one of the teams that just do not have confidence in developing these kind of guys. I just don't. They haven't really done a very good job of it. You guys ended up signing Trey Hendrickson after he developed in New Orleans, right? And he developed a little bit more while he was there, but he's already such a good player, but Myles Murphy's not being deployed properly. I mean, I'd rather just say, fuck the edge position. Let's go and let's try to develop and put Myles Murphy in the best spot possible. Like, we have a first-round pick on our team already who has a lot of potential and a lot of the talent that Shedeur Stewart already has. Not as good of athleticism, I'll admit that, but I would say that, like, if you really want to go edge, maybe wait till round 2. If you're going to take a project, just develop the guy you have. And I just don't think that Shedeur Stewart is going to be the best fit on the Bengals solely for that reason. For both Shedeur Stewart as well as for the Bengals, as well as for you fans, let's try to get someone who fits well with the system and has a proper growth curve. Nick Scorton going to the Falcons makes a lot of sense to me. He fits. I mean, I just keep forgetting the dude's name. Something Harrison, edge rusher. Zach Harrison. There we go. Out of Ohio State. It just feels very similar to that, but maybe a little bit more polished. Even though Zach Harrison was a freak athlete. I remember he was chasing down, or at least maintained, the same kind of separation on a breakaway run with Donovan Edwards. Donovan, yeah. I'm tripping balls, man. I'm forgetting names today. But regardless, I think that Nick Scorton would fit perfectly into that role. And it's a good pick. I mean, I do think you guys should still invest in more of the athletic style as well, rather than just a pure guy who's 285 like Scorton. But I do think there is room on this defense for both, and Nick Scorton's good value at 17. At 18, the Seahawks go Will Campbell. That is an absolute dream. Absolute dream. That's just the best pick you can make. I'm not going to disagree in any way, shape, or form. Honestly, I think you guys would appreciate this. I might say the dream pick for each team, maybe a player that is just a little bit outside of feasibility. And we'll think about that. I mean, feel free to let me know what you think. And maybe for the teams in the top 10, I'll just say a player that should get, and then say round 2 for a dream pick. And then guys who are 15 and over, kind of the guy who could be a dream fit for them in terms of the first round. But just let me know about that one. 19, Houston Texans go Wyatt Milam. Wyatt Milam's a pick. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it to the Texans. He's a really good tackle who probably transitions better as a guard, so you guys are going to be getting good value there at 19. I'd prefer Tyler Booker, but at the same time, Milam's had a fantastic year. Broncos go Genty. Genty's great value here. I mean, ridiculously great value, I should say. Just a really good back. The only issue so far has been the 8 fumbles over the past 2 years. Even though they're not bad fumbles, but a fumble is a fumble. It's I would say 4 of them were translatable, so 4 fumbles in 2 years. It's slightly a question, so it's still worth mentioning. But regardless, Broncos getting him at 20 is insane value. You guys see where he's at on my board, and I don't like running backs. I'm not a running back guy, and so it does say how much I believe in these players. Tampa Bay goes Luther Burden at 21. It's a good pick. They need to be able to revolutionize and kind of add a little bit of youth to that receiving core, especially with Chris Godwin being on the outs. Chargers go Marion Hampton. You guys see my board. You guys know exactly what that is. You guys know exactly what I think. This is going to be insane. I love Amari Hampton. The thing is, you guys can check the tape. I did not like him at all at the start of the year. So that's how you know I'm being genuinely honest with you. Marion Hampton was someone who I thought stumbled into a lot of success, very similar to how Walter Nolan, I believe, plays this year. I know a completely different position, but like similar end result, which like the success was not necessarily from their own creation, but more so their discovery of a lack of proper opposition. Is that how, you guys know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't create their success the way that I think the stats suggested they did. But this year, Amari Hampton's gone through the roof. I think he really has finally put it all together, which is why I'm starting to urge players, please do not come out early. Jalen Milroe, why are you doing this? But it is what it is. Amari Hampton's great back. The Rams then go Tyler Warren at 23. I'm not going to disagree with this at all. I honestly think he complements what they have in Colby Parkinson very, very well. Tyler Warren's a great player. Again, I restudied him today, and he boosted up a lot. The thing with him is I was a little bit lower on him at the start of the year. It was just the inconsistency was the issue. It wasn't the talent by any stretch. It was the inconsistency. And now the consistency has improved tremendously. He's not a great athlete. I will say that. He's not going to test very, very well, which makes me think he could be here at 23. But the separation with physicality, the consistency of catching, after having like 15% drop on multiple years, the dude was a primary target this year and had 3%. Like, this guy is rock solid, and he is fantastic. And good job for Tyler Warren. I love seeing these guys put the game together and take a big step. Landon Jackson goes to the Commanders. I'm not fully sold on Landon Jackson just yet, but he's a unique build. I could see him playing a DeMarcus Lawrence kind of role there for Dan Quinn. So it could end up working out. I just might wait to the second for it. Trey Amos goes to the Steelers, a pick I made several times. I think it's a beautiful and articulate selection for us. We need a corner too. And he has the physicality that Joey Porter Jr. does. He has the ball skills in terms of at the catch point that I think we really do need. And that physicality, that size, and that emphasis on being able to break up the catch point is exactly what the Steelers need in a corner too. So I love that to death. Him and Joey Porter Jr. might make one of the better corner duos in the NFL. Then we can end up really starting to hone in on the fine little nuggets in the rest of the defense before we remake the Steelers defense that we all know and love as pretty much the best in the NFL, which we kind of are at certain points. At our highest, we can be probably the best. But at the same time, we want our secondary to also be part of our identity. And right now, like we're one offseason away with Dante Jackson leaving away from being out of that realm. So Trey Amos is going to get us right back into it. Mike Green goes at 26 to the Ravens. He's going to be a baller there for the Senior Bowl. Super excited to see him in how many days is that? 24 from now. It's going to be a great opportunity. I'm super excited for it. So Mike Green goes to the Ravens. I do think they need some edge help, but maybe you could wait till round 2. Jahdae Barron goes to the Packers. A little bit undersized. I would have a little bit of a concern in terms of having multiple sub 6 foot corners. And Jahdae Barron could end up working to the slot, which technically not really a role that is overwhelmingly open. But he's a great player, super high zone instincts, but I would really want him to be on a team with a little bit more flexibility. I don't necessarily see him being a good fit with Jeff Hafley. That's just me. Then you got the Eagles going Cam Williams. I love that move for the Eagles. I made a trade up to make sure it happened this past week, so I'm going to support it now. Siobhan Revel Jr. goes to the Buffalo Bills at 29. I mean, you pretty much are getting another Kyer Elam at this point. It's not going to be a bad pick. Corner's never a bad pick. Corners like rotate all the time in terms of whether they're good or bad. So you always need a healthy rotation of dudes to be able to make sure that, you can cover for those days where your corners, or even years where those corners are not exactly themselves. So Siobhan Revel could definitely be a really good get there at 29. Vikings go Caleb Johnson at 30. I'm not a big Caleb Johnson guy. You guys can check my running back video, but he's a really good player, like a really good player. It's just in this class, I do think there are better backs. You got Jordan James into the mix, Cam Scatterbo, Devin Neal. Like, there's a lot of really good backs. Quinshawn Judkins as well. I do think all those guys have respective strengths and weaknesses that beat out Caleb Johnson, but he's super young, has a ton of tread left on his tires. I could see the Vikings being excited with him, but probably via trade back. Josiah Stewart getting the love he deserves at 31. He has a 27% pass rush win rate this year. He just has a unique frame at 6'1", 245. So I would be intrigued to see where he plays. I mean, obviously he played the James Houston role, but I would be intrigued to see if he can be an every down rusher. So we'll see. But Josiah Stewart, I love seeing him get some respect. Josh Simmons goes at 32 to the Chiefs. I mean, he's my number 4 player in the class. I keep saying this for the Chiefs. I don't think they should take a tackle. I mean, very similar to what I was talking about with the Bengals not developing edge rushers. The Chiefs just don't seem to be able to train up offensive tackles. And Josh Simmons, I guess, will have such a good starting foundation to where you don't need to train him to be like Sua Matea and Morris, who needed a lot more growth. So I guess it's like the best opportunity, but I just don't think he'll be here. But if you do get this, cool. If there are guys like Ursery on the board and stuff, please, for the love of God, do not take them. I mean, they deserve to go to a place that has a track record of being able to develop talent. Chiefs, just sign your offensive tackles at this point or focus on developing the ones you do have. So, I mean, it's just like, again, it's more so for you guys, for the Chiefs, as well as for the player. Put them in a good spot. Like, just put them in the best spot for their development. Maybe you don't want to do that if that best spot is in your own division, but luckily you aren't really too concerned about that. If he does slip, he'll probably just go at the next pick to the Patriots. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side.